and I'm secretly in love with Superman.
Welcome to Movie List, and today, we're counting down Henry Cavill's top 20 funniest moments. From the time Henry Cavill jumped onto the silver screen and into the hearts of moviegoers everywhere, he's been known to be as hilarious in interviews as he is handsome.
I've read worse things in my comments.
What's your favorite Henry Cavill moment? Let us know in the comments section below. Number 20. Incognito in Times Square. Superman is known for his alter ego, the glasses-wearing Clark Kent. But when Graham Norton pulled out the famous black frames during a promotional tour for Batman vs. Superman, Henry was obliged to put them on.
Prepare to be amazed.
Where's Henry gone?
Henry tells a story of putting Superman's famous disguise to the test in the middle of busy Times Square, to very surprising results.
I wore a Superman t-shirt and no glasses and stood underneath the giant wraparound Batman v Superman posters in Times Square.
But instead of the stampede that you'd expect an A-list celebrity superhero to receive, the response was rather muted.
And got stopped twice. Once by someone exiting the subway asking for directions to Central Station. And the other time was in a coffee shop where someone said, "Could you please stop taking photos?"
Apparently in New York, even Superman can fly under the radar. Number 19. Uncle Henry.
You have a nephew?
I have
nephew?
multiple nephews. Multiple nephews and one niece.
It seems like the Cavill clan is known for being almost all boys, so much so that they don't even know how a girl happened.
Who made a girl in your family? How did that happen?
Brother number 3, and we don't know how it happened.
Having your uncle be Superman would give a kid some serious bragging rights on the playground. So you'd think Henry's nephew would feel pretty great about it.
Do they love the fact and brag about the fact that you are Superman as well?
Absolutely, yes.
That is, if anyone would believe him. If you're as prone to tall tales as Henry's nephew Thomas is, you may have some problems.
He was telling all the school kids that his uncle was Superman. And, of course, the teacher then said, "Thomas, we don't lie in school."
While Henry's sister-in-law did eventually clear it up with the teacher, it appears that tall tales are her kryptonite. Number 18. Tom Cruise as Superman's brother? During a promotional tour for Mission Impossible Fallout, Henry was being interviewed alongside co-star Angela Bassett when he was asked whether he'd consider Tom Cruise to be cast as Superman's brother.
If you had a brother, would you consider Tom Cruise to be Superman's brother?
Oh, if Superman had a brother?
Yes.
I've got 4. It's like, I don't need any more.
He mostly just used it as another excuse to talk about his family, which he clearly loves. But with so many boys, even Angela is shocked at what Henry's poor mother had to go through.
5 boys?
Yeah, 5
Any
boys.
girls?
No girls.
Oh, Lord.
In fact, the
your poor
family,
mother.
we've just had our first girl in the series of nephews and now niece.
Eventually, Henry does get around to answering her questions, but when she asks who would win in a fight, Superman or Ethan Hunt, it's clear he feels it's no contest.
And if possible, if Superman were to go against the real-life Ethan Hunt, who would win?
Well, Superman.
Honestly, we kind of have to agree. Number 17. Not dead yet. It seems like you really haven't made it in Hollywood until you've been the target of a celebrity death hoax.
It's good to see you here and alive because there was a rumor that you had passed.
Yes.
In 2018, Henry became the latest star to fall victim to the popular trend when someone edited his Wikipedia page to list him as no longer with us.
A friend told me that I was dead. And I checked online, and sure enough, I found out I was dead.
Thankfully, Henry has a great sense of humor, and when he stopped by Good Morning America, he had no problem laughing it off.
That's got to be a little unnerving.
It definitely made me feel very alive.
Number 16. Henry the Nerd.
I have been a fan of the fantasy genre since I was a boy.
One thing to know about Henry Cavill is that he's a self-described nerd who loves fantasy, sci-fi, and video games. He often geeks out talking about any of these subjects, none more so than when he was promoting the Netflix hit The Witcher.
I'm a big PC gamer as well, and so I spent a lot of my time playing role-playing games in that genre.
Whenever he gets onto the subject, you can see his passion bleed through. There's no doubt in anyone's mind. Henry is a true fan.
I didn't read the books as a kid. I played the games. They released a game called Witcher 3 it's about 5 years ago now. Played that game to the death.
Because he's such a big fan himself, he understands that he's got a lot to live up to when he takes on a role, a responsibility that isn't lost on him. But he also knows that it's impossible to please everyone, something he's had to learn over the years.
When it comes to fans, it is a fan's right to have whatever opinion they want to have.
Number 15. Doing your own research. Not everyone knows the lore like Henry, but if you don't, it's probably best to just keep your mouth shut, especially if you're using Wikipedia as a source.
How's playing a demigod informing your preparation for Superman?
Well, I'm going to say Theseus isn't a demigod.
If he'd left it there, he would have been okay. But when the journalist reveals his source for the information, Henry rightfully shames him.
That's what it says on Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia? Using Wikipedia as your source of information?
The user-edited website can be great for casual research, but journalists probably shouldn't rely on them, especially if you're going up against Henry, who takes his own craft very seriously.
It took a lot of dedication and hardcore training and just being there and wanting it all the time.
And when it comes to Henry, the results speak for themselves. Number 14, breathing underwater. Henry is a proud nerd, something that he very much has in common with Lord of the Rings-obsessed Stephen Colbert.
This is when you hold it over your head and you tell the ring wraiths you can't have him.
Stephen's son wants to know which Witcher potion Henry would take, and he gives a very interesting answer.
None of them. No? Didn't you hear what I said?
Well, yeah.
Toxic. It will kill me.
It seems obvious, but it turns out that there is a Witcher potion that Henry wouldn't mind taking, and it relates to one of his favorite hobbies, scuba diving.
There was one potion which allowed you to breathe underwater, which seemed pretty cool. I mean, I love scuba diving myself, and so it would be pretty cool to do that without the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
We have a feeling that if Henry could breathe underwater, he'd be unstoppable. Number 13, Henry the sports fan. It turns out you don't have to be an American to enjoy American football, because on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, Henry revealed that he is a huge fan of the NFL.
A big NFL football fan.
Yes.
Now that Henry spends so much time in Hollywood, he figured it was probably time to choose a team to root for.
So I spend a lot of time over here, obviously, and I've been watching some American football. I started to like the sport, and I realized I had to choose a team.
When it came to choosing a team, he decided he'd go for who his famous character Superman would pick, and ended up becoming a proud member of Chiefs Nation.
And the only way I could choose a team was with something that was never going to change. It wasn't going to be my buddy likes this team or whatever it may be. So I figured the one thing which won't ever change in my life is the Superman aspect of it. And I figured Superman's from Kansas, the Chiefs, people in Kansas support the Chiefs. It just all added up.
Number 12, Rapid Fire. With Millie Bobby Brown. Millie Bobby Brown played the younger sister to Henry Sherlock in the Netflix hit Enola Holmes 2, and the two stopped by Good Morning America to promote it. But when both of them sat for a set of rapid-fire questions, the answers got a little loose.
Who would be the better at solving real-life mysteries?
I suppose it depends on the mystery.
At first, the question stumps the two co-stars, but then Henry has a theory as to who would be better, and an interesting reason as to why.
It does, because if it was something really
Age-related.
Yeah.
Like all of us, Henry must be feeling the years. Because when he says the mysteries he solves would have to be age-related, it causes the hosts of GMA to double over in laughter. But with age comes wisdom, and Millie Bobby assures us that Henry is the utmost professional on set.
Actually, to be honest, in all fairness, Henry never left set. I mean, anytime I would come onto set, okay, let's go, let's roll, and Henry would just be sat on set waiting, and I'd be like, what are you doing?
Now, that's what you call respect for your elders. Number 11, to bond or not to bond.
Oh, Henry, I don't know if you know this, but the Bond position is vacant.
Hollywood is a notoriously tough business to break into, and even with Henry's talent, there was a time he considered giving up. That is until he got the chance to do a screen test for James Bond.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give it a little bit more time, and then I'm going to follow my original course, which was go join the armed forces. And it was then that I got the Bond screen test.
Of course, it was Daniel Craig who ended up winning the role of the martini-sipping super spy. But that doesn't mean the buzz around Henry possibly playing the part ever quieted down. And if the producers wanted to have a meeting, he'd be all ears.
I would definitely have a conversation. I think there's...
Lunch? Possibly a lunch.
Yeah.
We don't know about you, but we think Henry would definitely be a great choice for the next installment of the James Bond franchise.
Googled it.
Yeah, right.
Henry Cavill, James Bond.
Yeah. Number 10. Henry loves his mom.
Amazingly, none of us gave each other stitches.
Growing up with a brother can be rough, especially for Henry. There seemed to be no limit to the abuse that he and his brothers would inflict on one another. But luckily for Henry, he came out relatively unscathed.
I am the only one who didn't come close to death at some stage
as a child.
Jumping off the roof.
Jumping off the roof,
car.
being set on fire, going through plate glass windows.
That would be a lot for any mom. But thankfully, Henry's was up for it. And you can tell that he thinks the world of her.
She is extraordinary.
Yes, she would have to be.
Extraordinary. She's put up with a lot.
Hey! There she is.
Yeah.
Is that you?
Nice to see that Superman himself also has a super mom.
She's amazing. She's amazing. She raised us strong and tough, and with lots of love too.
Number 9, the scent of the Batfleck.
Yeah, go ahead. Take a little hit of that.
Oh, I can smell it. I have many memories of that scent.
There's no shortage of merchandising when it comes to the Batman and Superman franchises. But when Henry and Ben get to sample one of the more unusual items, there's some hilarious results.
I'm not sure if that's a mixture of both of your musks or one of your. I'm not sure how they did they get that from the
I wondered
suit?
why they kept wiping me down and wanting to.
That's what it is.
After giving the fragrance a whiff, it didn't take Henry long at all to know who it smelled like, and he takes the opportunity to make a joke at Ben's expense.
It's got you on the box, so maybe it's.
Hey, you're on the box as
You're
well.
around the corner as well. It's quite pungent.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, that's Ben.
Even though on screen their relationship can be rocky, it seems like off screen these two superheroes get along just fine. Number 8, almost missing being cast as Superman. As has been established, Henry is a big gamer, so when he got the call that he'd been cast as the Man of Steel, it was no surprise that his attention was and thankfully, the rest was history. Number 7, rockin' the stash. Henry's mustache for Mission Impossible Fallout caused quite a stir, producing memes, articles, and a lot of thirst among his rabid fan base. But Henry himself was no fan, and he had some pretty good reasons.
It's not that I'm not fond of it. It's just that, if I'm walking past schools, people give me funny looks.
Henry goes on to explain other things he finds he can no longer do because of the stash, inspiring a hilarious exchange with actor and co-star in the action hit, Simon Pegg.
It's tough to buy Vans. Can't give children sweeties. You normally do that a lot.
While not everyone could pull off such a look, everyone agrees that Henry can, or any other for that matter.
It's like if Henry Cavill wore a stupid hat, you would think, oh, that stupid hat looks really good on him.
Number 6, the versus game. Press junkets for movies can be an exhausting affair. Stars have to do multiple interviews a day, and the questions can get a little repetitive. So when an interviewer changes things up with a fresh line of questioning, Henry's totally game.
Cake v. pie. Do you remember empty carbs?
Oh yeah, yeah. I eat a lot of empty carbs. Don't you worry about it.
It's a hard question for anybody to answer, but Henry comes up with a thoughtful response as usual.
That's tough.
Right?
I would say it depends on where you are. Like in a cold country, pie, 100%.
Ooh.
In a warmer country, cake.
When it comes to pens versus pencils, he has even more specific tastes.
Pencils v. pens.
Pencils you can write in space. But
Oh,
pens
God.
are more permanent on Earth.
You're full of amazing points today.
Number 5, a man of many mustaches. As we've stated earlier, press junkets can be rather boring, so when Henry decided he wanted to liven one up, he came with some props.
In general, what's your process for getting into character?
Typically my process involves just knowing the script as well as I can.
As Henry cycles through every type of mustache, he answers the interviewer's questions just like he always would, without either of them acknowledging it.
How do you go about developing the physical appearance of a character in any role that you take on?
I think the physicality of a character is extremely important.
Not content with leaving it there, it seemed Henry had to dig down and find the biggest mustache he had to find.
How do the physical traits of the character inform the performance in the film?
If you want something destroyed in a china shop,
Yeah.
in the corner of the china shop you let loose a bull in there.
Props to Henry for going along with the joke, and for playing it straight. But of course it's no surprise. He is a great actor after all. Number 4, Superman's true feelings.
What would Superman say?
I'm Batman.
Every actor who's played Batman has had their own spin on the character's trademark, gravelly voice. But with the help of Graham Norton's distorted microphone, the entire cast of Batman vs. Superman got to try.
I'd like a large pizza. Pepperoni. 2 Pepsis.
When Amy Adams takes a shot, she decides that she wants to play a different character.
Try a bit, Amy Adams. Let's hear it with a girl's voice.
I actually want to sound like Batman.
Last but not least, Henry gets his turn and shares a very deep secret about his Superman character.
Have a go, Henry, why not? What would Superman say?
I'm Batman. And I'm secretly in love with Superman.
It's nice to finally get some confirmation on what we suspected all along. Number 3, Henry. He's just like the rest of us.
Look at this guy, he's a beast. He's like, what are you looking at, punk?
Henry clearly takes his health seriously and has been known to buff up for some of his best-known roles. But it turns out, when he's not training for a role, he can get some serious cravings.
Hey, what is this guy craving right here? This guy is just like,
Well, there's many unsavory things I'm sure he's craving.
Just like any proper Englishman, he enjoys a nice pint of ale.
Unfortunately, Guinness is what I crave, so it's not ideal for the six-pack abs.
No one can maintain a super diet all the time, so when Henry isn't working, he doesn't mind letting himself go.
well, you're Superman. You have to be in awesome shape.
Yeah, for the movie, but generally, sort of off movies, I tend to be off-season.
Number 2, Thirsty Twitter.
Hi, I'm Henry Cavill, and I'm here at BuzzFeed to read some thirst tweets. Here goes.
Obviously, a lot of people have crushes on Henry, but when he stopped by BuzzFeed to read some thirsty tweets, it was hard for him to hide his embarrassment.
Henry Cavill, I love you with your glowing skin and your perfect face, and the beautiful curls in your hair. I just want to hug you because you are the love of my life. People are not nearly as thirsty as I thought they might be.
Of course, they did get a little unsafe for work.
Henry Cavill can, stick his tongue down my throat, I guess. Thanks.
But they also just got a little strange.
Henry Cavill could leave me on read at 4:30, text back at 8:47, and I'd reply at 8:46. It's a neat trick.
Number 1, Fat Cavill. While it's hard to believe, Henry actually had a bit of a weight problem as a kid. And on Graham Norton's show, he even opened up about the bullying he was the target of.
My nickname in school was Fat Cavill. Which was a very apt nickname, considering my name was indeed Cavill, and I was indeed fat.
Kids can be so cruel. Henry went on to explain just how big he was, and he didn't get much sympathy there either.
My dad always said from the age of about 13, I stayed the same weight until I was 25, I just got taller.
Okay, so you were enormously fat at 13.
I guess Graham can be pretty cruel too.
I don't know about enormously fat.
You were
but
morbidly
definitely-
obese, you could have died.
If you enjoyed this list, be sure to subscribe, then click the video on screen to watch our latest. See you there.